When Heir was born, everyone thought she would die due to her weak heart. Upon her mother's callings, a demon showed up and saved her life by sharing his heart with hers. There was only one condition. She would live until the demon's powers ran out. Not knowing anything about the mark she had on her chest from the day she remembers herself, she falls in love with the demon, marking the start of a forbidden love. What happens when she finds out the secrets her aunt and the demon have been keeping deeply hidden from her? Oh, hello, I didn't notice you there. And welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. In case anyone, for those of you who will inevitably say it, yes, I am aware of the fact that I have also worn this shirt last week. Don't at me. I want to get my money's worth out of it. Also, it is in keeping with the theme of today's video. Namely another review by another work of Despoina Quemeridos. This time, Mark of a Demon, a paranormal romance short story. Yeah. As you can see, the cover is quite striking. It does catch your eye, and all the motifs it uses do have in-story relevance, so that's good on her. However, the one thing that I find interesting about the book that doesn't stem from the main text is the dedication. To those who believed in me and encouraged me to do what I love. To those who didn't, because they taught me how to prove them wrong. That is absolutely perfect. Anyway, some of you might wonder, well, what does the main text hold? Well, the main character and narrator is, as the synopsis already reveals, a girl called Heir. And Heir's mother makes a deal with a demon in order for Heir to survive her infancy, leaving the young girl in the care of her aunt. I was kind of going back and forth on whether I should say aunt or aunt, but I settled on aunt because, well, as far as I am aware... Okay, come on. Trying to prove a point here. Okay. As far as I'm aware, that woman doesn't have 6 limbs. Or maybe she does in the text, just doesn't make it clear. Anyway, the two have a positive relationship throughout the entire book, even though they do kind of argue at some points, or throughout this short story. Eventually, though, the demon makes himself known and enters a relationship with the young lady. So, what makes this book stand out? First thing I want to mention is the characterization, because I think it is probably the thing that I think Despoina has absolutely has managed to do. Maybe not perfectly, but it is absolutely her forte. We spend a lot of the time in Heir's mind, so from Heir's perspective, so she has to be an interesting and compelling character in her own right, in order to make readers want to read more. And she absolutely did that. She absolutely was able to bring us an interesting, diligent, and somewhat awkwardly charming young lady, and was very enjoyable to read. I also appreciate the fact that she didn't make Heir's aunt abusive or neglectful in any way. They have a very loving and heartwarming relationship, and I would say both of them are better off for it. Not just morally better off, but also qualitatively better off. However, I have to say special commendation needs to go for how Despoina was able to write Heir's mother. We only see her right at the beginning and then towards the end of the story, but in both of these snippets, what we see of her in both of these points really is enough to make her come alive, to where the reader can place themselves in her shoes and really understand what compelled her to take on that deal that she has done. So yeah, great job on that. Other characters are, well, while they have their own distinctive features and characterizations, aren't really fleshed out. They just serve their role within the story. There is not much more to say about them because the story is not about them. It's about Heather and the demon. As for the demon himself, well, let's say I can understand what makes him appealing, at least to Heather, but I don't necessarily realize why he would find her appealing. One could argue that due to the details of the deal, he and Heather would have more common ground or common interests. But if that is the case, that is not really as fleshed out as it needs to be. If anything, it comes across more as he is being nice and protective towards her because that is part of the deal, not because not genuinely because he wants that. Then again, from the other side, we don't really get to see a lot of what makes Heather want to get into this relationship with him. As the only or rather the most persistent clue we get towards that end is how she reacts to opposition from the relationship. Most notably, Heather's aunt directly opposes this relationship, but the two still meet in secret. And what is being discussed, or what takes place during these meetings, is not exactly as well fleshed out as it would need to be. Mostly, it's just about, oh, wouldn't it be bad if other people found out what exactly is going on between us? I'll say this point not really overemphasizes the peril and underemphasizes the chemistry, underemphasizes what draws these people together. There are some moments where that sort of comes across, but there aren't enough to make me want to root for them, regrettably. In other aspects of her storytelling, she does actually remarkably well. I would say the dialogue is for the most part very well written. Every character has their own distinctive voice, even if I don't think their lines are particularly memorable. The world building is as complex as it needs to be, with some very interesting twists and flourishes that help escalate the stakes of the story and make it just that little bit more memorable. And the perspective is, for the most part, used well. There are some anomalies when it comes to things that Heather wouldn't remember or that she was supposedly compelled to forget somehow. But overall, I have to say the perspective is used just as it needs to be for this story. And overall, my impressions of the story are that while the romance isn't really as developed as it would have suited it, every other aspect of the story is actually, I'll say, redeems it and helps make it stand out amongst the crowd. I'll say this story has actually the opposite problem of Confessions of a Male Girl. I'll link to review of that in the iCard above. It's namely that while Confessions had a strong core and everything around it was lacking, here the core romance is lacking, but everything around it is still strong and memorable. Interestingly enough, my final rating for Mark of the Demon is the same as the one I had for Confessions, a 3 out of 5. And yeah, that was my review. Thank you very much for your attention. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and maybe even share it wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation, the comment section awaits your input. And if you want to see when I will release my next video, where I conclude my look into this pointless bibliography so far, then please subscribe. Ideally, also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. Until next time, I'm Jonathan Taylor, and this has been The Heir's Lair.